going?
Is it going? Hey. I can't tell if this is working or not. I think it is. Can somebody just go, it's working? That would be helpful. Nice to see all these people here. If you can actually hear me now, can somebody just give me a thumbs up? I think it's working. Hi, yes. Hi, Garfield. Thank you for that. Awesome. Well, I'm overwhelmed by the response as I usually am for any kind of overwhelming response. I don't even know what I'm talking about. This is really odd. I'm looking at myself, which of course is my personal nightmare. Spent the least amount of time possible gazing at the mirror myself. And hey, dude. Hey, Brian. How are you? It's been a long time. This is going to be difficult to keep up with, as much of life is for me. So as this is my first experimental live stream and I didn't actually expect anybody to be here, I brought some reading material. So instead of actually just reading to myself, I realize there's other people here right now. So I'm going to read just the back of this book, which I'm recommending that everybody purchase. This is an absolutely awesome book. If you don't know Werner Herzog's films, well, I envy you because you could go and watch them all again. I can't. Well, you could go and watch them for the first time. But anyway, I'm just going to read the back of this book. And this is Werner Herzog speaking, and I will not even attempt his accent, even though I did live in Germany for 3 years as a child. Anyway, awesome book, buy it. And this is what the back of the book says. Always take the initiative. There's nothing wrong with spending a night in jail if it means getting the shot you need. Send out all your dogs and one might return with prey. Never wallow in your troubles. Despair must be kept private and brief. Learn to live with your mistakes. Expand your knowledge and understanding of music and literature, old and modern. That roll of unexposed celluloid you might have in your hand might be the last in existence. So do something impressive with it. There is never an excuse not to finish a film. Carry bolt cutters everywhere. Thwart institutional cowardice. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. Take your fate into your own hands. Learn to read the inner essence of a landscape. Ignite the fire within and explore unknown territory. Walk straight ahead, never detour, maneuver and mislead, but always deliver. Don't be fearful of rejection. Develop your own voice. Day one is the point of no return. A badge of honor is to fail a film theory class. Chance is the lifeblood of cinema. Guerrilla tactics are best. Take revenge if need be. Get used to the bear behind you. That's all on the back of this book, and it's really better than a quote from the New York Times or anybody else. So anyway, now that's out of the way. Cool, John, you ordered that book. You're going to love it if you're familiar. I think you're familiar, but anyway, so welcome to everybody. I don't know if I can scroll up to the beginning or not. I can. I'm going to say, well, I can read them here. I have a moderator slash producer slash person who will take me away if I say the incorrect things, and that is namely my lovely wife, Jennifer. You want to say hello?
Hello.
There you have it. Hello.
Thank y'all for doing this. This is fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to go down the list. You'll have to bear with me. Hello, Garfield. Garfield says, Mark and Lori equals Lark. Just on a side note, Lori did have a nickname for me, and I'm not going to explain it really, but that nickname was Wall, W-A-L-L. That was my nickname that Lori had for me, so we'll just leave that there. Hello, Jordan Williams. Hello, Janice. Hello, Ian. Hello, Table of Nine TV, and thank you for the stuff that you've been writing. I'm still thinking about it. It's still dense and complicated, and I will respond to, I promise. Hey, John, old friend there. Hello, Oven Anaconda. Hello, Garfield. Hello, Leo Enterprises. Hello, Yogger. Hey, Yogger, it's been a while. You should call me up. We should talk. Brian Walsby, of course, a name from the dusty corridors of Melvins lore. Buck Dat, hello. Iconoclast, hello. Anthony Collins, hello. Jose Fernando Guerrero, hello. Monkeys, hello. Chromie, bonjour, Mark. Bonjour. Gary, hello, from Ireland. Clint Parnicott, hello. And Jim Prince, hello, from Northern Ireland. So that's everybody. And I guess I should start answering your questions now. Let me go back and start at the beginning. Jordan Williams asks, what was it like when you toured with Helmet when you were in the Melvins? Well, it was exactly like touring with a band named Helmet. And it involved, I believe, a lot of shirtless men running around into each other and yelling at the band that I was in a lot. And I think what they yelled the most was, Helmet, Helmet. And Buzz and I used to always joke that it would have been cool to tour with Helmet in Germany, just because instead of hearing Helmet, we could have heard Helmut, Helmut. So that's basically the third grade level of humor that we operated on a lot of the time. So yeah, I think I actually answered a comment about somebody asking about Helmet also, and how it was kind of aggro. Their audiences were kind of aggro, and weirdly so, because everybody goes to a show to more or less have a good time, but for some reason people went to Helmet shows to not have a good time. So I don't know what that was about.
You said, interesting, you said that the 90s seemed kind of aggro, which is funny.
Yeah.
We're having an age gap, and I agree with that. Like, shows were kind of aggro sometimes.
Jennifer was alive in the 90s. She wants everybody to know.
No, I don't.
And she remembers the 90s as being aggro.
Well, it shows.
At shows. So any
But
of
it
you
was
guys
fun.
remember the shows being aggro in the 90s?
But in a fun way.
It was fun aggro. There's nothing like fun aggressiveness, is there? I mean, I hold fun aggressiveness dear to my heart. But anyway, back to the Helmet thing. Later on in the tour, there was kind of boredom and just outright sort of disdain setting in for the Helmet audience. And so I remember times when we basically became bored to the point where we would start to invite people up on stage to play a song with the band. I think it was primarily drummers, and it became rapidly this kind of game show thing. Anybody out there know how to play drums? Well, I do, timid people. Okay, you're up next. And at some shows, we would have 2 or 3 drummers, and they'd come up and what would we try and play? Maybe it was Hooch or something like that, which starts with a fairly complicated drum intro, I think. Anyway, I remember some of those shows descending into just pure laughter, and basically Helmet showing up and kind of going, what did you do to the audience? You know, they seem really confused. And at one point, somebody came up to me and asked me for their money back. He said, you know, I think what you guys did was really shitty, and me and my bros drove, I don't know, 35 minutes to come to this show. And we feel ripped off. And, you know, I'd like to get my money back. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, we're feeling, you know, this is terrible, you know. And I tried to convince him that he'd seen something really special. In the back of my head, I was thinking of, John Cage events that I'd been to and stuff like that. And he didn't go for it. He didn't go for the specialness of that particular show. And so I just pulled out a 20 and I go, here you go. And he kind of went, well, thanks, man. And kind of skulked off. So I don't know. I guess he didn't get his $20 worth or whatever it was. Anyway, that's all about that. That's enough of that, especially since it's now going on 37 years ago or something.
There's a couple of new people. Jeff is from Alabama.
Hey, Jeff from Alabama.
Michael Malloy and Devolution SF.
And hey, Devolution SF, and hey, Michael Malloy. So next question, Ian. After all these years, was it strange to meet with Buzz again recently? Do you think you will do any recording work with the Melvins again? Well, yeah, it was a little odd. And I'm not sure how much detail I should go into on that exactly. I'm still kind of arranging my thoughts on the whole thing, and we have a dialogue, and it's an ongoing dialogue, and it's been interesting. And if you've ever kind of picked up the pieces with somebody you fell out with a quarter of a century ago or something like that, then you'll know the sort of process that you have to get into to try to make things more or less head towards a different path or something like that. So for me personally, there wasn't a path at all. So it's kind of about just creating new possibilities or whatever. So it's more or less impossible for me to answer your question, but I hope that gives you sort of an insight to where it's at. I mean, we are friendly again, and we never really stopped being friends. Things just kind of took a detour, let's say that. But thanks for your question. Table of 9 asks, says, thought I had to work today and I have the day off, which means I'm here for your first live video. Looking forward to this. Well, thanks, Table of 9. And as I mentioned, you've been asking some interesting thought-provoking questions, maybe a little too thought-provoking, but thank you nevertheless. And this could be an ongoing conversation.
This question is, what is inspiring you the most these days?
Well, that's what's inspiring me the most. I don't really have an inspiration meter, and I'm more just kind of like a hunter-gatherer when it comes to inspiration. I'm consuming a great amount of literature, YouTube videos, and we live in extremely historic times, and it's very interesting to me because I've always been a great fan of history. Even since I was a kid, I was reading history. And so all of that stuff is inspirational, depressing, enlightening, thought-provoking, all at the same time. And I mean, if you are creative and you've got your radar up and you've got your skin peeled off a little bit around your cranial area, things are going to be poking you, they're going to be prodding you, you're going to wake up in the dead of night thinking things and not really knowing why they're there. So that's what this is for, the notebook and the pen. And I can't recommend that enough for anybody out there who is creative or just even wants to try to remember something at this point, or write it down and just draw a line through it later and go, why did I write that down? So that's it in a nutshell. Basically, there's nothing in particular, but for example, thinking of this video, I just saw this Herzog book lying around. I picked it up and yeah, there's 1 million points of inspiration just within a single person right there. So that's a short answer to that.
What cigars do you smoke, John Schuler?
Oh, well, let's see. I mean, my favorite cigar, and it has been my favorite cigar for probably, I would say, a solid 35 years at this point, would be the Hoyo de Monterey Epicure #2. And it's what's considered a Robusto cigar. It's got about a 50 ring gauge to it. It's about that thick and it's about that long. So pretty much as nature designed it, and a great size, adequate girth, excellent smoke. I'd say it's about a 45-minute smoke if you're taking your time, which you should. Apart from that, I do like Monte Cristos and Cohibas and things like that. I would advise ordering them from Switzerland if you want to get some.
John Schuler also says The Bluebird is such a great album. Are you currently working on a follow-up?
Thanks, John. I don't know if you can hear what Jennifer's saying or not. Can you guys hear Jennifer whispering in the background? She's kind of feeding me these questions because I need to hear them and read them at the same time. Otherwise, who knows what'll happen. But anyway, thanks, John, for the mention of the Bluebird. I think it's pretty good myself. I can't say I'm working on something in that vein coming up here. I'm working on a couple of large pieces which are sort of, they're in a different direction, but they are large pieces. And they kind of harken back to my time at CalArts studying electronic music. So I watched a couple of things on YouTube lately about one of my teachers at CalArts, Morton Subotnick, who's considered one of the godfathers of real electronic music. And so that kind of kickstarted my thinking about those years and some of the joy that I had in experimenting in the amazing Buchla lab that they had there. They had a big custom built Buchla studio, Buchla electronic component studio. And it was a quad based studio. So they had these big giant JBL studio monitors in there that you could wire up and you could just crank the hell out of them in that place and do the craziest stuff anyway. I'm working on something more along those kind of lines, and we'll see what happens. I haven't quite decided what the distribution format is going to be for that. If it'll even have a physical format, it may just go straight to Bandcamp. So as I'm still in the creative phase with that material, I'm not yet in the practical phase of distribution for it. I'm trying to stay out of that realm while I'm still in this space, if it makes any sense. Otherwise, I'll just begin to weep and not be able to do anything with it. So thanks, John. Next.
Do you want me to read you one?
Yogger says, thanks for the inspirational reading. Well, I think that's kind of a nice way to kick off a live stream. And I had 4 or 5 books here because, as I said, I wasn't planning on anybody being here. So I was just going to sit here and read stuff until somebody showed up. So now I'm not going to get to read anything, I guess. But that might be a good way to start streams in the future.
Maybe talk about how Yogger goes way back and used to come see you.
Oh, okay, so R. Yogger Williams, if you can see him there in the chat, is an old friend of mine from the old Melvins days. And Yogger, I believe, came up to a show, Melvin's show, and said, "Are you Mark Deutrom?" And we began talking. And I think at that point, Yogger was still playing football for University of Washington. Forgive me, I forget the position that you played, but Yogger actually had he was kind of a minor celebrity in Seattle, doing a minor celebrity in Seattle due to being the only person on the football team who was also an art major. And if you've ever seen the single that I put out called, I think it's called Triangular Object, I used a photo of an art piece that Yogger created and sent to me. Anyway, Yogger came to see the Melvins, I can't even remember how many amounts of times, and would often purchase me a cocktail before I played, a single cocktail, may I add, and was always a pleasure to see and spend time with. And so thank you, Yogger. It's great to see you. It's great to see old friends here. Of course.
Are you much of a metal fan?
Am I much of a metal fan? Well, I can't say really that I am. I mean, I've listened to metal in my times, and I've been to some great legendary metal shows. I mean, I saw Iron Maiden on the Power Slave tour when I lived in San Francisco. Saw the Dio tour where he came out and actually killed the dragon. I think that maybe was the Sacred Heart tour. Saw that one. What else did I see? Well, I've seen like a very high pinnacle metal show too, which was actually like in '92, after I had done sound on the Melvins tour in Europe, which I think was maybe for Ozma possibly with Lori Black. And at the end of that tour, some of the dates were blown out. So there was about a week off at the end of that tour. And I think Buzz and Lori went back to San Francisco. Dale ended up staying at my house. And I looked in the paper and I saw that Black Sabbath was going to be playing at the Hammersmith Odeon. And they had just put out a record called Dehumanizer, which was kind of their last record with Ronnie James Dio. So they were playing at the Hammersmith Odeon. I talked to Dale. I said, "Hey, you want to go see Sabbath with Dio?" And he just went, "Yes, I do." So we got tickets, maybe about 20 rows back in the middle, and we went to see the Dehumanizer tour. So I think that qualifies as metal. Maybe it's hard rock. I don't know. I don't lose sleep over this.
They're wanting to see Lori.
Oh, you want to see Lori? Yeah. Could be problematic. It's like wanting to see Howard Hughes in the 80s, if any of you guys know who Howard Hughes is. So it's kind of on that level. So I'm not saying no. I would never dare to speak for Lori. But when I do speak to her, I tell her fans are out there, and her, as they used to say, inquiring minds want to know. So, which may be her greatest fear and what keeps her away from doing it. But maybe one day, it's like just keep believing in Santa Claus. Don't stop believing. Right? Is that metal? That's not metal, is it?
Let's see. Do you have any memories of doing promo for Honky album where you talked about each song back in the day?
Yeah, I did. I was the only person that did promo for the Honky record in Europe. So I remember taking a train there from London, going to, I don't know, maybe Düsseldorf or someplace. And I was there for 2 days. I did press basically 7 hours a day for 2 days in a row. And I think I even did a TV thing where I'm sitting there smoking a cigar, talking about every Melvins video and the history of the Melvins or whatever. So I will get to breaking down the Honky record eventually, like I have with Stoner Witch Stag and Ozma. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. That's the only promo I remember. So I'm going to go back a little bit in these and see. Let's see. Well, you got to go back because you missed a lot of them. Let's see. Yeah, TV pro. Yeah, Michael Malloy. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, I can't find it either, and I didn't. As much as I tried to get video copies of a lot of that stuff, like the Rock Squad stuff, they'd say, "Yeah, where do I send it to?" And then it never got sent. So I don't blame anybody in particular, but they probably just had endless piles of things they were supposed to do, and they never got around to it because it just wasn't important back then. Let's see. Devolution SF says, I saw you in Clown Alley. Can't say about the 90s. Okay. Yeah, it would have been that window in San Francisco, probably mid 80s, because Clown Alley was done in late 87, I would say. Saw an old video of you guys playing Sacrifice with a random crowd member. Yeah, that might have been one of those helmet shows, possibly. Jeff McLeod says, what about Casper Brotzman? Great. I love Casper Brotzman, and he's right in there with that Anthony Braxton thing, probably influenced by Anthony Braxton, I would imagine, but I love all that stuff. Slander Bob. Oh, hi, Mark. Hi, Slander Bob. In for a Lori appearance. Yep. Gary says that Walsby book is probably an issue of Man-Child, came with a CD. Yep, I think that's more limited edition stuff Brian did. Brian at this point is probably a certified Melvins archivist, I would imagine. There'll probably be a point where Brian does an eBay sale and retires to St. Kitts or something like that, I would imagine. Let's see. Magongolia says, any memories of the 1994 Olympia Quiet Night with Melvin show? Was that format a one-off, or did you do other quiet shows? Well, yeah, I wonder if that was the destruction incident. I'll answer the second part first, which was, did we do other quiet shows? And yes, we did. We did. I remember a really notorious one in Australia. And somebody has mentioned this to me before, that they were there. And this was another one of these I want my money back shows, which are great, because I mean you couldn't ask for a better compliment, as far as I'm concerned, than somebody asking for their money back. I did something on my Patreon page recently, and I was talking about the Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, where there was an actual riot for this music. It was written in 1913, 1912, and premiered at the Paris Opera House, and they literally ripped the place up. So in that sense, it was like a Black Flag show at the Olympic in LA in the early 80s. But anyway, the one in Australia took place in some hotel in some little town in the middle of nowhere. And we went in, we were just doing a sound check. We weren't even playing that loudly. It wasn't even a full volume sound check. And the owner of the venue came out and said, oh, you down, turn it down. We can't be doing this. We have residents. And of course you would put a first of all, of course if you have a rock venue, you put it in the bottom of a hotel, and then you invite the Melvins to play, right? So during the sound check, he's going, no, bring it down. We bring it down. He's still going, no, too loud. We're just looking at each other going, okay. So we literally, I think Buzz and I just put our amps on standby and then just kind of have the vocals going through the PA with just Dale playing, and the guy thinks it's still too loud. So we just went, all right, we're not canceling this. People have driven there to see it. So showtime starts, and we start playing really, really quietly as we can. And people are booing, and they're going, what's going on? This isn't the Melvins that I want and love. And so they became fairly unruly, and they were like, what are you doing? And this is unacceptable. And the guy who was the owner came out and said, what are you doing? I've got people who are upset. And so we were just kind of between a rock and a hard place, and we just turned up a little bit and played a somewhat lackluster, medium loud show. After when we finished, the guy made it a point to say, well, I hope you're happy now because I've got a hotel filled with upset tenants, upset guests. And to which we just looked at him and went, so anyway, there was another example of a quiet show. Oh, and there was one other, but I don't want to take up all these times with quiet shows, but my brain is getting triggered a little bit. Let's move along. Let's see. But incidentally, yeah, I think the Olympia show, quiet show, there was another element attached to it of destruction, which I may talk about at some point. So I'll just leave it there. John Schuler says, any memories of Plainfield with Smelly and Trey? I remember them opening for Melvins in Seattle. First time I saw you play with Melvins there. Yes, Smelly, I always loved Plainfield. I thought they were great. I mean, of course, their band is named after the town that Ed Gein came from. He wasn't even a mass murderer. He was just ghoulish in his inclination. And it's kind of fun for the name Plainfield to come up because, of course, there is a Werner Herzog connection with Plainfield. And some of you may not know this, but at one point he was going to make a film with, what was his name? What's the guy who makes all the crazy documentaries with,
Errol Morris?
Yes. Herzog was going to make a movie with, get your head around this. Herzog was going to make a film with Errol Morris in Plainfield about Ed Gein. And I think the story's actually in that book. Herzog goes all the way from Germany to Plainfield, I think, and he's there. And Errol Morris calls him up and says, I can't do this. I don't want to do this now. So that's more or less the gist of that story. But it's an interesting and crazy story and fun to think about if the two of them would have made a film about Ed Gein. I bet it would have been really interesting and great, of course. So anyway, Smelly, Plainfield, they were interesting and fun. And one of these kind of, sort of in the same kind of ballpark as the Mentors from LA, if you guys are familiar with any of them. On a side note, when I lived in LA with Lori, we were actually friends with Eldon. So you can put that in your pipe and smoke it and just imagine Lori and I hanging out with Eldon. And Lori actually really liked Eldon a lot. They were kind of buddies, and Eldon kind of thought of Lori as like a little sister or something like that. So it was always pretty cool to hang out with those guys and go to their shows. Let's see, next. Monksy's, first one is mine. I heard that when you stopped working with the Melvins, it was something like, actually, we don't want to play with you anymore. Did it end on good terms, even without details? Well, it didn't end on any terms. It just ended. There was no terms at all. And I didn't actually hear a reason. I just heard we're doing something else. We're moving in a different direction. And it was the same direction. It was just not the direction I was moving in with them. So that's basically all there is to it. I mean, I still don't have an explanation. And to be honest, I'm really not looking for one. I mean, it's ancient history at this point. So there's a lot of conjecture and, rumors out there. You can hear it from the horse's mouth that it was just kind of like you walk out of a room and you turn the light switch off. I mean, I really can't go into more detail than the sparse details that I have about it. So there you have it. But thanks for your question.
How many parts in Stag and Stoner Witch were created by you?
Let's see. How many parts in Stag and Stoner Witch were created by me? Well, when you're in a situation and you're just being creative with people, I mean, there's a lot of give and take. Nobody's making a list. If I go back when I did the breakdowns of of those records, it was easier to just recall stuff when I was actually listening to it. I went, oh yeah, that's the way that worked out. But really, the whole process was so organic, and there's a term that creative types use, and I mean a variety of people use this term, but getting in the zone. And when you kind of get in the zone, you're in the flow. The part of your brain that's being particularly organized and categorizing things, and that more logic part of your brain is kind of detached from the part that's being creative. So it's easier to listen in hindsight, and rewatching those videos just when I was even editing the videos, I was remembering things. Oh yeah, I left this out. I left that out. So I would suggest going back and watching those videos, and that might give you some more insight to it. Because I probably will not go back and go, okay, here's the stuff I left out. But thanks for your question. And
I think he's from Russia, and he's basically translating this for his Russian fans.
oh, you're translating it from your Russian fans. For your Russian fans. Well, thank you, and hello to everybody in Russia. And that's all I'll say.
Russian speaking community. He said, why did Clown Alley break up?
Let's see. Are there some before or after that? Yeah, let me just go down the list here. Garfield says Buchla, yes, and I think Buchla's been rebooted, so you can purchase stuff from them now. Soy CD says, you've been asked this a bazillion times, but what would you consider your finest work, magnum opus per se? Well, I don't believe I've done it yet. So, and I'm not dead yet, as they say. At least I'm not sure. This has been a very successful AI construction. So I'll have to consult it and see what it says. But I don't believe I've done my best work yet. How's that for an answer? Devolution asks, Clown Alley and Sacrilege, what were your most difficult obstacles, if any, in getting those recording sessions completed? Those weren't difficult sessions to get completed. Everybody was on board. Everybody was really excited to be having the opportunity to even be able to be making a record. So I know Sacrilege had, a fairly minor reputation as liking to party, but once they got in the studio and once they were practicing and playing shows, I mean, they were right on it. And listen to the records. I mean, there weren't any obstacles at all. I mean, this wasn't like a Poison Idea type scenario or like an RKL scenario where you think you're getting one situation, you're getting something completely different. So those recording sessions were a pleasure, like gluey porch treatments, and some of the other ones too. So yeah, no problems, no obstacles with those. Garfield asks, can you say anything about partnership with Rio Grande pickups? You and Buzz both on their website. Do you remember Buzz using their pickups too? I do remember that, and I think I told Buzz about them. I forget how I discovered them. Maybe it was, I don't know, scrounging around the internet early or reading some articles in guitar magazines. I contacted them, and it wasn't, I can't say it was really an endorsement. I mean, they might have been like, Mark D uses the pickups or whatever, but I did buy the pickups from them. So that's how interested I was in finding out how good they were. And I think I ended up buying a few sets and putting them in all the bases I had at the time. And then I think Buzz got a PAF pickup from them or something. They made a PAF pickup. I don't know if he still uses them or not. I'm really not up on what he uses anymore. But yeah, they were good. And I think they're still a company, and they probably are still making great things. Any spare shirts, bell ringer shirts, says Sean Perzo. Sorry, no bell ringer shirts. We might have a few. Okay, we might have a few. So I would recommend checking, excuse me, I'd recommend checking the Bandcamp page, because what I'll do is if I have any, I'll put some up in there. And then if you're subscribed to my Bandcamp channel, you'll see them appear, the ones that I have. But I don't think there's many left. And for those of you who are not familiar, Bandcamp was, Bell Ringer was a band I had maybe about 10 years ago. Tried to get a few different indie labels involved. Nobody was interested in it. Found it really difficult to get shows. Tried to get a booking agent for it. Couldn't do that. Anyway, we made a Bell Ringer record, made a cassette tape, I think, and a CD. You can still get the Bell Ringer CD through Bandcamp, I think. It was licensed to my current label, Season of Mist, which holds my back catalog. And there was also a Bell Ringer vinyl. I think the vinyl's sold out now, though. But yeah, no more Bell Ringer shirts, sorry. Oh, and on this YouTube channel, there are Bell Ringer videos. I think there's a Bell Ringer playlist. So go there if you want to listen and see what that sounded like. I love the Bell Ringer videos. They're great. My lovely wife, Jennifer, is the master editor and brains behind all of those videos. So check those out. Those are pretty cool. Yes, I'm going to say thank you right now before I forget for being an awesome community. I can't believe it. We've already been doing this for 43 minutes, but we have, and you're still here, so that's cool. And thank you. Next, what genre do you find yourself gravitating towards then, if any in particular? And that is So Why CD asking that. I can't, sorry to be completely vague as I was in earlier questions. I'm not gravitating anywhere. I'm just simply going where I feel like. I'm not headed towards melodic hip hop, as I briefly mentioned in the video with Jeff Probst. I'm not headed towards country, not headed towards reggae, not headed towards power pop. Really destination nowhere, if that's an answer. I'm just going where I feel, man. You know,
You could tell
just
them what you've
gotta.
been listening to, like those 1920s things.
Well, where I'm listening to is not where I'm headed, though. So let's see. Next, table of 9. Do you have a heavy? Yes, a heavy stack of journals. Let's see. Uh-oh. Okay, this is okay. Heavy stack of journals. Yes. What's coming up for you next? Hey, Jam. Musically, just what I mentioned before, what I'm working on, a couple of large electronic things, and a whole lot of dabbling, um, and just kind of going back to basics, playing with tones, playing with a lot of stuff in the box that's available, playing with amp models, which are really interesting and kind of amazing. And actually, the last gig that I played, which was a little over a year ago now, I haven't played a gig since April of 24. And when I played at that gig, I used this right here. I used a laptop with an amp model on it. And I have the Neural DSP Mesa Mark II amp model. And since I own a couple of Mesas, I've got a Mark I and I have a Mark III Coliseum that I've owned since '86. Since I know how to get a good sound out of that, I dialed up that exact sound on the model and I was extremely impressed. And at the gig that I played, at the little line check, the sound man came up to me and he goes, "You don't have an amp?" And I go, "No, I'm just doing this." And he kind of went, "All right." And plugged into the interface and I pulled the sound up and I could see him kind of pulling the levels up and going, he literally made kind of a face of disbelief and just went, "Wow, okay, that's amazing." So I am playing around a lot with that stuff, and that's very interesting and inspiring to do that. And you can just throw headphones on and do it. And I recommend that to players out there. You can get demo models of this stuff, and it's cool. Let's see. John Schuler, thanks for passing on our love to Lori, Melvins fan. Love the Lorax era and the Mark D era. Thank you. Thanks, John, as usual. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your presence on my Patreon page, and thanks for still being there. It means a lot. Just burning, doing the Mark Deutrom, doing the Deutrom dance as Twin Evasion. Thank you. Oh, it's an 80s song. Okay. I'm old. I don't even remember the 80s. I remember the 1880s. It's a time of strife and, rebuilding, as it were. Sean Hoback, hey, Mark, love the Belligerent album. Vinyl sounds great. Any chance you will get to make another? It probably means Bell Ringer. Well, no, Bell Ringer is a done deal. There's going to be no more bell ringing. On a side note, I called the band Bell Ringer because I was actually, and still am actually, a member of the Fraternal Order of Bell Ringers, which are called Campanologists. When I lived in London, I had a church nearby me. I heard the bells ringing. I went up in there and became a member of the change ringing group that was doing that. But anyway, yeah, I love the way the Bell Ringer record sounds, and it was kind of a little collective. Originally, it was a power trio. Two of them quit. Then the next day, I thought, I'm just going to call up everybody, every bass player and drummer I know, and go, want to play. And within 2 hours, I had 3 bass players and 2 drummers. So that's how that worked. That whole thing was like an experiment. But the record's cool, and check out the Bell Ringer videos on this site, because those are cool too. And right now, they're the only ways, that's the only way you can hear the Bell Ringer stuff, because I don't think it's streaming anywhere at this point. But I may stream it at some point in the future, there's a legal thing attached to it. Anyway, let's see. Garfield says there was a woman on YouTube people thought was Lori for a while. She had the same name and black hair. Turned out to be a realtor or something. Yeah. If you put in Lori Black, I mean, you're going to, how common is that name? Common as muck, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, don't stop believing, Iconoclast says, being from Texas, were you big into Butthole Surfers? When they were first around, did you catch any of their insane shows? No, I was not really into them because I wasn't in Texas when that thing started happening in the early 80s. I was in Los Angeles, so I'm more akin to the Los Angeles punk scene at the time than the Texas punk scene at the time. And I did hear about them vicariously, and I think saw them when they came through San Francisco, like the Big Boys and the Dicks. So they were on my radar a little bit, but that was later. I don't really know them. I have a couple of degrees of separation from Scratch Acid. And oddly, when I did finally meet up with Buzz for the first time in a long time last September, I met Pincus for the very first time, which is kind of odd after all this time. But there he was, and he was, hey, Mark. And I went, hey, Pincus. There we were. So anyway, no. That's the answer to your question. Let's see. Table of 9, yes. Comments to the video were hilarious. Of an Anaconda, favorite Star Trek character? Well, we'd probably have to go with the original Star Trek because, that's all there is for me. I mean, I'm not boldly going into, the 12th iteration of Star Trek. I'm sticking with the OG Star Trek, as they call it. And I think that maybe it might be a toss-up between two, and it's going to be the two best characters, probably, in my opinion. Well, maybe I'm going to have to add three now. One would be the episode, I think it's even written by Robert Bloch, the great horror short story writer who also wrote Twilight Zones and wrote Psycho. I can't remember the name of the episode. Somebody can help me, but it's where basically Jack the Ripper was just an iteration of an evil entity that went around the universe killing people. And they kind of finally trap him on the Enterprise, I think. But the person that played that iteration of Jack the Ripper in the distant future, that's one of my favorite characters. The other one, of course, is Ricardo Montalban as Khan, and he's also great in the movie The Wrath of Khan, as everybody knows. And then the other one is, and Fantasy Island. I mean, you got to watch Fantasy Island. I revisited that and realized that was one of the darkest shows ever put on television. And Fantasy Island that's quality entertainment right there. And the other one besides Khan was the space hippie episode where the space hippies are going to Eden and they get beamed up because their ship's being destroyed or something. And the main space hippie with the really weird ears, and they have like a jam session with Spock, I think. Anyway, that's enough Star Trek. Otherwise, I'm going to ruin my reputation it's going to be out there now. Mark is a Trekkie, and we knew it was sad, and now it's sadder somehow. Anyway, thanks for your question. I haven't thought about that in years, apart from moments. Thanks for your question. I haven't thought about that in years, apart from moments ago. Let's see. John Schuler says the Quiet Show is at the Capitol Theater in Olympia. Was amazing. It was a midnight show. Lights opened. The Melvins slayed quietly. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking that's maybe the same show that was the Destruction show. But as I mentioned, I'm not going into the Destruction part of the show right now. But I'll go into it later, maybe. Garfield, Mark, I have that whole video where you were talking about, you go through all the Melvins videos on Viva TV. I can mail it to you. Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you. I'd like to do a reaction video on that. Oh, water. Thank you, moderator. Isn't Jennifer doing an awesome job of moderating? I mean, she should be on camera with me. She's not doing anything. That's what she always says, but she's actually doing everything. Those of you who have wives know what I'm talking about. You do nothing, they do everything. Let's see. Cole Ruitt, when you were touring with Nirvana in Europe in '94, the tour was canceled for obvious reasons right in the middle of the tour. What was it like to deal with that chaos and reschedule on the fly? Yeah, I'm not going to go into that right now because that is on my list of videos to talk about. And there's a lot of stuff in there that's fairly delicate and it's actually sad. You know, the whole thing is a sad thing. And a lot of people were caught unaware, and I will talk about that later, though. That is on my list, and of course, it was Nirvana's last tour, and Melvins played Nirvana's last show, and I was there, so I am a witness, as they say, to the entire thing. Thank you for your question. I appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to be part of that oral history, as bleak as it was. So I'll get to it. Let's see. Table of Nine. I'll put that book on my wish list. Sounds interesting. What else are you reading, Mark? Well, I'm reading just very quickly. I'm reading this, James Burke, The Day the Universe Changed. And of course, James Burke had the incredible 70s BBC television show called Connections, which you all should watch. There'll be a test on it later. And I'm reading Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. This was one of the things that I was going to read out of, actually, if nobody showed up. I might just start reading out of it now, just for kicks. And what else everybody should read? Orwell, Essays. This is a door stopper. Buy this. Buy this. This is important. Trust me. Buy this. So that's what I'm reading. Let's see. Anthony Collins. Melvins are one of the loudest bands I've ever seen. My vision was actually distorted and blurry from the sound of shaking my eyeballs at one show. Yes. The Melvins were loud, and I can only hear now because I had earplugs the whole time I was with them. I think there's a quote by me from back in the day. Somebody asked me what are the two most important things I take on tour with me, and I said earplugs and aspirin. And that's exactly what they were. And really, it wasn't the guitar amps. It was cymbals, because Dale smacks every cymbal like it's a crash cymbal, even if it's a 32-inch ride cymbal. He'll beat it like it's a little crash cymbal. So yes, it was, and we got excessive. It might have been the high water mark where the tide moved back from, as Hunter S. Thompson says, because after that, things got smaller, and I mean, they still stayed loud, I think, but Yeah, I had the 4 SVT cabs, and I had a couple of 1,000 watts of Ampeg power amps. And I think I might be one of the few people who have played in more or less the loudest bands on earth, if you want to include Sun. So, but I think Melvins might have had the edge just because of the cymbal situation. Anyway, Table of Nine Creator, they are a metal band, yes. SOYCD says, I saw the Melvins very recently. I'm not sure my brain is still in one piece from how loud it was. Well, I think it's probably loud out of the house because even Buzz told me when I saw him that things are not as loud on stage now. So, okay. Mcgongoglia, Eldon Hoke, the Seattle Sun nobody claims. Eldon was really a sweetheart. And I remember Lori and I once went to a show where there was this kind of all-girl glam metal band in LA. I can't remember their name now, but they were getting this attention, and they were one of these bands where their parents had a lot of money, so they bought them a lot of nice equipment. You know, they had like Jackson guitars and brand new Marshall stacks, and they were purple spandex. I can almost remember their name, but they were getting attention in the LA Weekly and stuff. And Eldon somehow got in the papers or got in the LA alt press and was saying, I challenge you to a grudge match, whoever the band was. And this was really hilarious because it was kind of like the old fashioned wrestling kayfabe. And they actually had the show. And Lori and I went to it, and it was hilarious. It was really, really funny. And of course, the mentors opened the show, and Eldon was walking around with his hood on, going, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" He was walking around the crowd doing that, going up to their parents and people that they knew, and just with his shirt off and the mask on. And it was just one of the really funniest things I've ever seen. And I wish there was a video of that. I can't remember the band though, and the girl band, and all of their friends were just going, "Hey man, they were just going, this isn't cool, and you're being offensive." It was just hilarious. We just loved it. Lori laughed so hard. We laughed really hard after that. Of course, through their whole set, they just did the regular thing. They're like, "Ladies, we know what you're good for," and they were singing those songs, "Going Through Your Purse," and all those crazy songs like that. So it was really fun. Anyway, yes, Eldon. I mean, can we rename like Capitol Hill like Eldon Hoke Square or something like that? I mean, I think it should happen. Or the Eldon Hoke, what was it called? Free Zone, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Something.
The Capitol Hill Free Zone. Yeah, it should be the Eldon Hoke Free Zone. That's what it should be. Buckdat, I decided I'd rather save my money for Shonen Knife this year instead of seeing Melvins last Saturday. Well, I know it's your money. You do what you want with it, I don't know what to say about that. David, do you continue to see any royalties from Melvins or other records you performed on? I love that story. Garfield. Mark, I read an interview where Buzz went into detail about parting ways because he thought you were trying to make the band more commercial and he didn't want to do demos for major labels. Okay. I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, I didn't, if I had a cunning plan to go commercial, it wouldn't have been the Melvins I would have joined. It would have been, what would it have been? Winger.
No.
Or Mr. Big, or who else? I don't know. You suggest bands I should have joined to be really big. Pat Benatar. No, she was already done. Poison. Who was really big? Oh, Nirvana. Nirvana would have been, should have joined to be really big. Pat Benatar. No, she was already done. Poison. Who was really big? Oh, Nirvana. Nirvana would have been the one, right? Because they just ended up getting a punk rock guitar player anyway. And I can play a little better than Pat. I mean, just not blowing my own trumpet here, but I mean, that's just a thing. So yeah, I should have joined Nirvana if I wanted to be commercial, really. Or, I mean, I'm not faulting him in his, but if I have to take credit for wanting to make the band more commercial, all right, might have been the producer in me, you know. If I can just think of a way to get these guys to, you know, female backing vocals, that's what would have done it. Just like Robert Palmer videos. And you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. What was your favorite? Let's see. Honestly, I'm kind of burned out on YouTube related material because of YouTube. I'd like to think about music offline and have an aversion to consuming music related stuff on YouTube. So watch Japanese walking videos instead, or, you know, watch industrial videos. I mean, that's what I'm watching lately, and I love it. I mean, it's, you know, watching them melt up a ton of metal at a time and pour it into a die is,
People who live in cars.
it's great. Yeah, people who live in their cars, stuff like that. You know, YouTube is filled with stuff from all over the world, and it's all, you know, the craziest stuff is out there. So
Let's really visit that country. That was really cool.
yeah, we watched a guy, we just watched a guy who went to Yemen and drove around the country there. I mean, talk about an amazing country. Just put Yemen in and start looking at what's happening in Yemen, or you know, or Mongolia, or wherever. I mean, there's 1 million things to watch. You know, drag racing videos from the 1960s. That'll make you stop thinking about music. So it's easy. I'm just going to give you guys the heads up because I'm going on 1 hour, 7 minutes right now. And it's past my nap time, and I won't be able to be responsible for anything further that I say. So Jennifer herself even went, uh-oh. So I'm telling you right now, things are moving sideways. And because I'm having to look at myself, I'm just looking cross-eyed. It's because I'm reading things.
Maybe you could.
So, okay, I'm just going to finish these up. If you guys can just stop now while you can, please. Thank you. And we'll pick up again later, I promise. And so Uncouth Youth, Sacrilege, BC played in London in August 88. Were you already in London by then, and did you go see them? No. Yes, I was in August. I moved to London in April of 88. I didn't get the phone call, but they probably didn't have my phone number. And this was before the interweb. So there wasn't a way for Streffen or Tim or anybody to go, hey, Mark, we're going to be in London. And nobody had my number purposefully. Nobody had my address. I went dark, as they say. So I would have loved to have gone to see it, though, because, I mean, I love those guys. And yeah, you know, Sacrilege, Tim, Jason, Sean, obviously Matt, Streffen, if you guys are out there, love, major love to you guys. D. Piechowski, any specific memories involving the city of Chicago? Let's see. Well, Chicago, yeah, actually, I have a pretty hilarious memory of Chicago, which is Buzz and I going to the Chicago Police Museum and seeing how the cops dressed up in hippie outfits during the 1968 Democratic Convention so they could go and crack heads more easily. And that's a real thing. I don't know if they still have the hippie disguises on mannequins in there, but if you're in Chicago, you should definitely visit the police museum and check that out unless it's been expunged, as they say. And of course, going up the Sears Tower and stuff. And I do also have a great memory of a friend of mine taking me to a genuine Chicago speakeasy when I played in Chicago last time. So that was pretty cool. There was a place and there was a big metal door, and behind it was a speakeasy. So that was awesome. So I like Chicago. Chicago's awesome. Let's see. What was your favorite Melvins album when it comes to the writing rehearsing process? Thanks, says McMullet. Well, I don't have a favorite. They're all pretty much more or less have an equivalence to them. They were all different experiences. They were all really fun experiences. When we were in the studio and we got in the zone, as they say, that was really cool. All the people that we worked with were great. When we did the so-called big records with Garth Richardson and Joe Barresi and Chad Bamford, those were awesome times. Everybody we were solidly a team and we were doing great stuff and everybody was all in on it. So I don't really have a favorite. And that's the answer to that. But thanks for the question. Let's see. Leo Enterprises, will you auction off any more Melvins era Mark D hats? Well, that hat never got auctioned off. I just had it up for a nanosecond, and I might do that. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it so I could get Melvins people involved in it, people who might be fans of the hats. I mean, they are nice hats. So I'll have a think about it, and maybe there's a way to do it here, or maybe there's a way to do it in some kind of public square where I could just hand out cricket bats and whoever survives gets the hat, something fun like that. And of course, it would be a pay-per-view situation. Let's see. Jem, empty rooms, dabbling is good for the brain, keen to see what comes of it. Thank you, Jem. And also he's got a band, We Empty Rooms. The name is purposeful and they do. Nice little Australian outfit. Incidentally, I did a split LP with them that you might want to seek out. And good luck seeking it out because it was in fact extremely limited. And I think even there's a hype sticker on it that says limited as hell. So Twin Vasion says, were you influenced by any industrial artist? I don't know if you mean industrial in the real sense or industrial like 9 Inch Nails, or I'm not sure what that means exactly. But I certainly like things like Futurism and Bauhaus and stuff like that. As far as industrial music, I mean, Futurism, like Marinetti, there was a guy, the guy who invented Futurism, Marinetti, the Italian fascist. There was a guy called Russolo who was related to that. He built all these big, strange instruments. I think Mike Patton even built a set of those instruments that Russolo created. So pure noise and stuff like that. Yeah, I do. I like the real stuff like Stockhausen and things like that. But I'm not a huge fan of things like, what would it be? 9 Inch Nails, Ministry. I don't even know what it is. I'm not sure. I'm not informed. So forgive that. But Stockhausen, that's industrial. Let's see. Next, Garrett Gravely, did you see Melvins Arkell in '86? No, I don't think I did. There's a possibility that I might have seen Melvins at New Method Emeryville in San Francisco in '86. But Clown Alley used to play shows with RKL frequently in San Francisco at Ruthie's and places like that. And then RKL actually practiced in our rehearsal place, which was called Secret Studios in South San Francisco. And then, of course, I produced the RKL album Rock and Roll Nightmare. So I saw RKL plenty in their rehearsal space and at shows and making the record with them. And then we are friends with those guys too, like Bomber and Barry in particular. We'd see them often because RKL lived in, half the band lived in San Francisco, half the band lived in Santa Barbara. So they only got together when they were playing shows or touring or recording or whatever. So let's see. Mark, where would I email that to? Oh, you did? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mark and Jennifer. I like that. Where I'm heading is where I'm not listening. Thank you. Appreciate that. Music. Buck Dad, I like some of that stuff, Ministry, and some Killing Joke that I just learned, industrial. Actually, I did like Killing Joke, but I'm not sure the term industrial existed at the time. Maybe it possibly did. I think in the Clown Alley album breakdown, I do mention Killing Joke and Gang of Four also as influences. So I guess Gang of Four and Killing Joke are kind of sort of proto early industrial types of things, like Revolting Cocks, of course, which became Ministry. So anyway, that's more than enough for today. And thank all of you so much for being part of this. And do you feel special? Because you are special. And also just let me know if you have any future video ideas. If you like this sort of free form thing, you'll run out of questions about the Melvins because I will certainly run out of information about them. And I've spent more time out of them than in them at this point, including my time producing and doing sound on tour for them. So obviously I can talk a great deal about a lot of things, whether you like it or not. So I'm open to anything. There's not any questions that are taboo. And honestly, I'd like to talk about anything that you can think of, anything you're interested in. And obviously I can go there, and I have a lot of untapped knowledge that nobody might know about. So thanks a lot. And I'm going to sign off, and have an excellent Sunday wherever you are. Love.